your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Hey, good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. This is the Morning Drive on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Okay, so Red Raiders competing yesterday in the long jump. We talked about Monet Nichols and Ruth Osoro. Monet Nichols, representing the United States, took sixth place, Jamie.
Yeah, I was hoping for, a medal for those two, but yeah, pretty good group of athletes there that were entertaining to probably watch more long jump yesterday than I had in my whole entire life.
Okay.
So that was interesting, and I just wished one of them would have gotten a medal.
So Osoro takes 10th. She had her best jump was 21 feet 7.055 inches. Monet Nichols took 6th at 21 feet 10.598 inches. And the bronze medalist was at 22 feet 10 inches. So Monet Nichols was about a foot out. Well, about a foot out from getting the bronze.
Pretty decent distance.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent distance. So, I always have to convert the meters to feet, because when they say 6.96, it means nothing to me. Meters. But it's 22 feet 10 inches. Oh, okay, that's a good jump. Mm-hmm. But if you'd have said 6.96 meters, is that a good jump? Is that a good jump?
I don't really know.
Yeah, right. I'm right there.
If they gave her a medal, I would say it was a good job.
Right, yeah.
If she's competing in the Olympics, I would say it's a good job.
Absolutely. I mean, just like we've talked about, just to get there. The gal that won the long jump, this is crazy, is the new Kansas State assistant track coach, and she competed at Texas. So, how about that? Your new assistant coach is a Olympic gold medalist, so that's pretty crazy. The other thing that's crazy to me, and is the 400-meter hurdler. Her name is Sydney McLaughlin-Levron. She has been trying to break 50 seconds in the 400-meter hurdles. So she did it in 50.37 seconds, which, I mean, as she talked about last night, running the flat 400 as helping her get to the 400-meter hurdles. But a flat 400 at 50.37, it's not a world record, but it is a very good time. And they did, like earlier this week, they showed her running hurdles versus the gals in Tokyo running the flat 400. And it's amazing how much faster than some of the girls that were running the flat 400 were compared to her running the 400-meter hurdles. I mean, her ability there is pretty amazing.
Yeah, she just felt like she was in a different league than those girls she ran against yesterday.
No doubt. So she wins back-to-back 400-meter hurdles, doing that in Tokyo and now doing that in Paris. And she's the only woman to do that twice in that event at the Olympics. And she is 25. So that was pretty cool. She's also going to run in the 4x400 meter relay later this week. That's just the flat 400.
Okay.
So
the flat one.
Well, that's what she called it last night. It's like, I'd never heard it called that way before. I'm like, okay, I'll go with that. We get this. Bryce.
Never heard it called that way before. Immediately adopts it as his permanent measure of how he's going to say it.
It's a pretty good one.
Well, I mean, I was just distinguishing the two.
And it's very understandable.
Yeah.
Like what he meant.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably why she uses it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The flat 400 versus... Now, we get this from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. I'm going to edit it slightly. Bryce Hoppel from Midland, a Midland native, will run in the flat 800 meters tomorrow morning. But since there's not a 800-meter hurdles, you don't have to say flat 800. You can just say the 800 meters.
Okay.
Okay?
Or you can say the 2 times around.
2 times around. That's right.
That's kind of how I look at things.
The two times around, right? The 2 times around. Do you look at some of those runners and just go, man, that's impressive, to be able to run the 1,500 or the 5,000 or the 10,000 or heck, even the marathon.
I look at anybody who's in the Olympics and I'm impressed.
Be as impressive, yeah. No, I'm right. I'm right there.
So, which event have you decided you can keep up with him in this year? It was in the pool 4 years ago.
Okay. There's nothing I can do.
Been a bad 4 years, huh? Okay. Well, we can get better for next time. We'll be fine. We got the Winter Olympics coming up. We can work on your bobsledding.
I think probably any of us would go look at curling and go, is that something that we might be able to? I
would fall over the ice. I don't even want to try it.
Yeah, and that
I would look like an idiot.
That'd be problematic.
Oh, because they're on ice skates, aren't they?
Well, they're on.
I think they're on spike shoes.
Yeah,
spike shoes.
Yeah.
Okay. I just pictured them slipping and sliding.
Oh, I would absolutely slip and slide even with spike shoes.
The guys that probably could the 2 guys that probably could make a run at curling would be the 2 guys that have to carry out the Stanley Cup every year because they have a lot of experience of being on ice with flat shoes.
Maybe so.
Okay.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
How's their sweeping ability, though? We know they can carry something big and heavy, but can they sweep?
They have to be able to sweep.
How about this?
Have to ask their wives, I guess.
One of the worst chores ever. Hate sweeping.
How about this little nugget from our friend Dr. Mike Gustafson, whom you'll hear later on today on Tech Talk. He said Bryce Hoppel's dad has been the general manager of the Midland Rockhounds since 1990.
Cool.
That is cool. Mm-hmm. That's cool. I hope he's able to see his son. Maybe that might be tough because he's in season, but
surely he is.
Surely
he's there watching his kid in the Olympics.
Sure. I mean, you've seen a lot of families though that have been watching from home because of expense and tickets and all that kind of stuff. It's probably a challenge, but hopefully he's able to get there and do that. I feel like that you'd expend all your resources. If
I would think you would.
Yeah.
I mean, take out a loan, whatever. How many times your kid going to compete in the Olympics?
Yeah, not very many.
Yeah.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Drive time for this day in sports history. Today is the 9th day of August, 2024. Here's Jeff McGuire with this day in sports history.
You don't have to be worried about being on deck here, Chuck. I'm not going to make you do your Gerald Ford impersonation.
Okay, I don't have one.
That's why I'm not going to make you do one. 1925, the only time Babe Ruth is pinch hit for. Bobby Veach flies out. So, that worked out well.
The only time.
Only time in his career.
Like, they'd never have a game that they were blowing somebody out, and they're like, why don't you get a little rest? Herman? Wasn't it Herman?
George Herman.
George Herman.
Yeah.
George Herman.
1936, Jesse Owens is part of the American 4x100-meter relay team that wins gold in world record fashion in 39.8 seconds. At the Berlin Olympics, it's his 4th gold medal of the Games. 1963, New York Met pitcher Roger Craig's National League record-tying 18-game losing streak ends with a complete game 7-3 win over the Chicago Cubs at the Polo Grounds in New York City. 1987, Los Angeles Rams beat the Dallas Cowboys 28-27 in London as part of an NFL exhibition game. 1988, Edmonton Oilers trade Wayne Gretzky to the LA Kings for $15 million and to $20 million. It actually fluctuated a little bit with the players that were also involved in all of that. And that's when LA discovered that they had a hockey team. 2015, former Red Raider A.J. Ramos gets his 18th save of the year in perfecto fashion in a 4-1 Marlins win over the Braves. And in 2016, American swimmer Katie Ledecky wins her second gold medal of the Rio de Janeiro Olympics in a 1:53.73 in the women's 200-meter freestyle ahead of Sarah Strömström of Sweden and Australian Emma McKinnon. It's National Rice Pudding Day. Meh.
Yeah, there was a time when I was a fan. I'm not asking anybody to make a rice pudding for me today.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
It's very nice of you.
Thank you.
Big birthday today. Happy birthday, former Texas Tech quarterback and head football coach Cliff Kingsbury turns 45 today.
45. Okay, he's no longer a kid. Kid coach.
I mean, that probably ended pretty quickly after he was here.
Yeah, no, but I mean, there was a time when he was, amongst the youngest of them. Now he's not.
Also, tomorrow, happy birthday, former Texas Tech football coach Matt Wells turns 51.
51.
Back to today, Anna Kendrick is 39. Deion Sanders, 57. Ashley Johnson, 41. Gillian Anderson is 56. A man with a great mustache and a phenomenal voice, Sam Elliott, is 80 today. Bob Cousy, 96. Derek Fisher, 50. And Brett Hall is 60.
I think it's Gillian Anderson.
It is Gillian Anderson. Why did I say Gillian? That's a party foul on my part.
If you'd asked me about Bob Cousy, I would have said he was dead.
I did a double check to make sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, 96.
And we all have a dream way we'd want to quit a job, right? Go out in the blaze of glory.
I haven't really given that any thought. Okay.
I'm sure at some point in your life you have. Maybe not this job, but a job somewhere. You're like, when I quit, I'm burning this place to the ground. Everybody's got a story like that. Well, on this day in 2010, JetBlue flight attendant Steven Slater quits his job in dramatic style by sliding down the plane's emergency escape chute while the aircraft is stopped near the terminal gate at New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport. Slater, who claimed his actions were prompted by the behavior of a rude passenger. He contended that when the flight landed, a passenger became abusive toward him during an argument over luggage. Although other passengers on the flight later disputed Slater's account of the passenger's behavior, what happened next is very clear. The flight attendant got on the plane's public address system, cursed at the passenger, and said, "I've been in this business for 20 years, and that's it. I've had it. I'm done." Afterwards, he took 2 beers from the beverage cart, deployed the emergency exit, and started down the slide. Now, he grabbed the beer. He forgot his luggage, so he had to climb back up the slide to get his luggage and then immediately slid back down. Drove home to his home in Queens in New York. I am stopping the story there because that's when the fun stops, and it's a Friday, and I want to have some fun. That's this day in sports history.
So have you dreamed of burning this place down, Jeff?
I'm not at liberty to discuss that right now because what I say now may be brought up in court later.
Wow. 6:50 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Have you ever quit a job in anger?
No.
No, I don't think I have either.
No.
I've never told them to take this job and shove it or anything along those lines. Jeff, have you done that?
I have not.
Okay.
I have been asked to stop coming.
You have been asked to stop coming. Well, that's unfortunate. Going back to your 4x100 meter story from 1936, the Jesse Owens group running that at 39.8. And so a lot of times, we see this track stuff and we go, wow, it's really not improved that much, or in terms of like the men's long jump, or sometimes some of those things feels like, with all the technology and whatnot. But how about this? The world record for the 4x100 was set by the Jamaican team, and their time was 36.84 seconds. So I think that would be a case that, almost 80-something years later, that shaving 3 seconds off would be a significant amount for the 4x1. Anyway, I just thought that was There's just kind of a quick little note there for you. This from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Curlers don't wear spike shoes. They have to be able to slide on the ice. Sure, that makes sense.
There's a lot of sliding going on.
There's a lot of sliding going on. This caught my eye. Apparently, Olympic swimmers were guzzling or have guzzled or are guzzling cans of Coke to protect them from bacteria in the Seine River.
I've seen that going on. Yeah, I've noticed that, and I thought it was odd.
Yeah. It's always odd, too. Like, I don't remember back in the day when it seemed to be more prevalent back in the day, and maybe it still is to a certain degree, where every once in a while you'd have to clean your battery terminals of your car, and you'd go out there and you'd pour a Coke on it, and it'd burn the acid off, and you're like, okay, well, what's that doing to me? Apparently, top swimmers swear by it to prevent infection. Okay. Moesha Johnson of Team Australia says the myth of Coca-Cola is true. We will often have a Coca-Cola afterward just to try to flush out anything inside us. A strategy which swimmers from the U.S., New Zealand, and Italy all discuss with the paper, the Wall Street Journal, may not be scientifically sound, even if it's popular. Okay. Apparently, Coke is less acidic than a healthy stomach, meaning it likely wouldn't add any infection-fighting power. That's according to the president of the American Gastroenterological Association, Dr. Maria Abreu. Of course she would say that. Nothing to that. But meanwhile, the athletes, it's in their head, so guess what? They're going to do it. Sure. They're going to do it.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
We're here on the Morning Drive with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Great to have you with us today. Yates Flooring Center chat line is open. If you'd care to chime in, go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app. It's presented by Happy State Bank. All right. Yesterday, after football practice, the assistant head coach, passing game coordinator, and wide receivers coach, Justin Johnson, was made available and made comments about his group. Here's what he had to say, Jamie, about his wide receivers, because we talked about this the other day, the screen game, and it's going to be more of an emphasis this year. It's going to be critical, maybe for the Red Raiders' success. And Coach Johnson had this to say about his wide receivers working on the screen game.
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing with it is we have a lot of playmakers on the team, and so we understand that. And so getting the screen game going is really important, right? Getting the ball out of the quarterback's hand, protecting B, and then getting it to our playmakers and letting them go be special, right? Letting them use the gifts that they were given. And so with that is just the blocking on the perimeter to get the screens going, setting the screens up the right way, and then just hitting it. I talk to them all the time, old school Crabtree used to watch Crab, he'd take a screen, he catches on the right hash, he might finish on the left. And so we've done a lot of, I've tasked these guys with understanding a lot of the background history, too, of the receiver play that's been here, from that time, from, Crab to Wes and those guys, and, so on and so forth, a lot of those guys, and talking about those guys. And so I think they understand they're hungry for that.
I think maybe the biggest thing there was getting the ball in the hands of the playmakers and letting them do their thing, which is, critical, right? And you have your hand up. What's your question?
Are we focusing on blocking?
Yeah.
Are we focused on blocking? Are we admitting that we were terrible blocking last year at the wide receiver position on screens? Yes, everything he said was everything that everybody knows about a screen. Mm-hmm. Get the ball in the quarterback's hand, let the playmaker get a ball in the playmaker's hand, all the above. Are we going to be better blocking? Are we going to put emphasis on wide receivers actually having to block? Because otherwise, all of those things and all the reasons that you want the screen game are worthless unless your wide receivers are focused on blocking.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, I'm hopeful, right?
I mean, he defined all the reasons why you want to run the screen game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely, Coach. We're 100% behind you. That's why we understand that it can be a valuable part.
Mm-hmm.
But unless they decide to focus on, and he just talked about guys like Michael Crabtree and Wes Welker and throw in Alex Torres and a bunch of other guys, that were really good at running it, but they were also really good blocking it. Okay? And so the problem last year was not your quarterback. The problem last year was not that your wide receivers couldn't catch the ball over there. They could catch it. It was that you couldn't block it.
Or they didn't want to block.
And there was no accountability for not blocking, apparently, because it just never changed. Yet we continued to run the play.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the question. We all know what a screen is. We all know why you run it. The question is, are we focused on blocking it? Is that a priority? Otherwise, all the Tech fans are going to be complaining again that we're running too many screens. If you block it, we will like it.
Okay.
We're pretty simple creatures that way, actually.
Yes.
Should we get you over there today?
Is there another question asking about blocking on the wide receiver screens?
I was not there,
Okay, so no.
I'm guessing. I'm looking at this. No, not seeing any blocking questions.
So, I mean, do you guys remember last year how many Tech fans were upset that we continue to run wide receiver screens?
Do you remember how many Tech fans in these two rooms were upset for how many screens we were running?
I have no issue with running the screen. I see the value in it.
We just weren't good at it.
Stretch the field sideline to sideline, make defensive linemen run left, right, whatever, wear them out, all of the above, get the ball in the playmaker's hands, but there has to be a dedication to your wide receiver core blocking. And last year, it felt like your wide receiver core didn't have a dedication to catching either. They were just not great.
No.
But clearly, blocking was not their strength.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame it on Zach Kitley for calling the play. I blame it on the wide receivers for not executing and not getting their blocks.
At some point in time, the players have to execute, right?
Yeah, but at a certain point, Zach Kitley at some point has to say, okay, our wide receivers can't block. We have to stop running screens because of that. Right?
Yeah.
So there has to be some sort there. Again, I'm 100% with Coach Johnson and why he wants to run the screens, but there needs to be some ownership of the blocking.
Yeah, no.
And to admit that that was a fail last year for our team. Wide receivers got to be tougher. There needs to be a different mentality there.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on with all that there, Coach Lent.
Well, does anybody else not listen to it and go,
I know.
Yeah, Coach, everything, we agree.
Yeah.
But I was waiting for him to say, and we have focused this year on being better at blocking their wide receiver screen.
I think the question was worded, are they focusing on improving the screen game from the wide receiver's perspective? I think is how it led into it, which is why he probably didn't say that specifically, that we are working on it, because it kind of led from the question that way. But yeah, to your point, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he might as well have been Charlie Brown's teacher, unless he brings up the blocking aspect of it.
Like I said, yeah. No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Okay, I got one more thing here from Coach Johnson. This is not about wide receivers, screen, or anything like that. This is what he has seen from the star pupil, or at least the potential star pupil in the freshman phenom.
I think he's got many star pupils.
Micah Hudson.
I really do.
Growth. Micah has a very strong willingness to learn. I mean, he's constantly coming up, meeting. He has Barron will get after him if he needs to. I'll get after him if I need to, and he accepts it, man. He has a willingness to learn, a hunger to learn, and on the same, on the same hand right there, it's we also recognize that hey, he's in practice 6, 7, of being a college football player. He didn't go through some of the stuff, so he didn't have the spring to mess up like some of the other guys had, and so some of his hiccups or some of his pitfalls are happening right now, and we understand that, and so the biggest thing is to know those are going to happen, know those are coming, and to coach him through those things, and I think he's just continued to improve every practice with that.
And I am going to be curious to see what the lack of a spring, and maybe there isn't. Maybe his learning curve is pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, you would have preferred that he would have been there, no question, right? I mean, that's why guys want to get in and they want to get acclimated. They want to learn the offense. They want to make that connection with their quarterback and the rest of their position group and all that. And so there's lots to be gained by him doing that. But that being said, you expect athleticism and just pure skill at some point to take over, right? Mm-hmm. And so while he's not so there was a little bit of a disadvantage not being there, you would expect his athleticism and ability just kind of overcomes that. Yeah. So he may not be at his toppy best right there off the bat, but but I would expect that his athletic ability is going to show out.
Well, that wasn't Jamie's question of the day in terms of are we going to do a better job blocking. That might be a question for the future, but he will have a question of the day next.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, what you got for us?
All right, gentlemen, I'm bouncing this one off of what we just kind of discussed a little bit.
Okay.
In what area do you think Texas Tech football, you would really like to see them improve this year? Running the screen game could be an answer.
Okay. Well, to me, part of the low-hanging fruit is protecting the quarterback, which would mean that your offensive line play would improve exponentially. Some of that you've got to put on your own quarterback, who sometimes had a tendency to stay in the play too long. Okay, so can I do that combo? I think protecting the quarterback, you got to block better. You just got to block better.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
block better.
That's a good one.
In the same vein, but a little more specific, it's not just blocking better. How about let's block 3 and 4 with 5 better, instead of having to use 6 or 7 to block 3 or 4. That's a frustration. Your tight end production has been frustrating. I think half of that is because they were having to stick around and be an extra blocker because your 5 guys weren't getting the job done. I'm not talking about the full-fledged 7-man blitz coming at you, but it felt like there were a lot of times that they were getting pressured with 3 or 4 guys just coming, making it harder for the quarterback to do his job. But do a better job of blocking that with the 5 offensive linemen so your tight ends can be in the pattern.
Okay. All right. So I think a good answer would be find a way to use your tight ends more in the passing game. Mm-hmm. That would play into what Jeff's just kind of mentioned there.
Yeah.
I think this one has many answers. I mean, not to say that we have many flaws, but I think there's a lot of things that you could say, I wish we did this better, whatever. I'm not sure if one is more important than the other. You know what? I would probably say yours is the most important, Chuck. Just protecting the quarterback. Yeah. But I'm not one that thinks that most of our quarterback injuries over the years have anything to do with having a bad offensive line.
No, because some of them have been self-inflicted because
it's just football.
Yeah.
Guys get hurt. You use the quarterback to run. I mean, sometimes he's getting rushed, and sometimes it's a quarterback off, draw play or whatever. And I want that to be a part of your offense. I mean, it's football. Mm-hmm. It's football, and they're running with it, and very large guys who can run fast are chasing them and trying to hit them hard. So I just think that it happens. Now, I think the big part of that is just pure luck. Does he get tackled in a way that leads to an injury, or does he not? Now, I'm sure that there's truth that the best offensive lines or the best blocking teams probably have a little bit less for the injuries, but it's not like we're losing guys because they get blindsided, and they're concussed, because the left tackle isn't protecting them. I don't think that's normally the issue, but I do think pass protection is it's probably the number one answer for this one. For me, mine I guess is just a little bit different in that I feel like last year you were pretty good on first and second down. I didn't feel like you were great on third down. And I just felt like there were too many times where it was makeable third downs and you couldn't stay on the field. It felt like, at times I didn't think you were great on first down and you would make it tougher on yourself in second and third. But for the most part, we just didn't. That's where, and I know I'm comparing to an all-worldly quarterback here, okay? But like Mahomes was so good. Just find a way. Just find a way to move the chains. And if that means you get out of the pocket and you run for 3 yards on 3rd and 2, or if that means you keep the play alive and you find a check down receiver that can pick up yardage. I mean, it just felt like Patrick was so good at that. He still is now. Okay, but when he was the Red Raider quarterback, he just found ways to get it done on third down. And I just feel like over the last few seasons, we've not had a quarterback that had that craftiness and creativity and just freaking find a way. Mm-hmm. Just find a way to move the chains. And I would love to see that again.
So here's you could maybe call this a stupid thought, but I'll just throw it out there. It's going along those lines. I wonder sometimes how much the third down play was predicated about, we don't think that we can convert here, but we want to get close enough so that we can convert on fourth down. Do you think there was some of that going on too? Yeah.
I absolutely think it is. Now, and then you would fall into the category of, okay, be better on fourth down.
Right, but I mean, I guess
the numbers would probably bear out that you were decent on fourth down.
Yeah.
And I would tell you the numbers on third down probably were not terrible either. It just feels like, I don't know, there were just so many of them that were makeable third downs that we just couldn't.
It felt like sometimes third down became like a setup down for fourth down. It's like, how about
I think that's fair.
I think we'll just make the. How about?
And I don't know that that's a dumb idea or take or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there's. I get that when you're using all four downs and you're in a situation where you're saying, hey, we're probably going to go for this on fourth down. If we can get close, then get it close. Mm-hmm. I get that.
And then does that kind of take some of the, playmaking out of your team or your quarterback or some of your players, because you know that, well, we're trying to just get a little bit closer here so we can run this play here, whether it's running Tosh between the tackles or et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I don't know. It's just sometimes you can overanalyze.
That's what we do for 3 hours every day.
Okay.
Joey McGuire's tuned in right now, and he's going, we overanalyze? What do you think you fools are doing?
I'd love to think that he was, getting ready for practice, tuning in, kind of seeing what was happening here, seeing what the take of the
I 100% think Joey McGuire is a guy that would tune in and listen.
Probably so. Yeah,
I think so.
Just kind of give a take on things.
Yeah.
All right, 7:40 this morning here on the morning drive.
If he loves talking about Red Raider football as much as he appears to, you would think he would love hearing other people talk about it as well.
Yeah.
You would think he'd be entertained by us hooligans.
Entertained. I think entertained is probably a good thought.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Thank you for being with us. Hour 3 of 3 with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. We come to you this morning from the First United Bank studio. Yates Flooring Center chat line is open. So is the Visual Edge IT hotline. Just hearing you talk about Noah Lyles and had to cart him off after running 200 meters, And then, of course, now he's fine, right? And he's an Olympic athlete. He's a world-class athlete. He's the world's fastest man, right? Mm-hmm. So it just reminded me of a high school football game. Sometimes there's events that take place, that you remember, 40 years later, and you can't remember.
Especially if they go really good, really bad, or they're really funny.
Yeah. So this particular football game that I'm doing, this kid gets injured, okay? And he's down on the field for, a long time, probably 10, 15 minutes at least. And we're, trying not to go through all the, speculation. They bring an ambulance out onto the field, okay? They put him in the ambulance. The ambulance starts to drive off, okay? And then the ambulance stops. The door opens, and the kid gets out. And so we came up with this magic sponge for him. The whole thing probably took 20 minutes for it to transpire. And then the ambulance, I can still see it. I can see it in my mind right now.
And the crowd went wild.
Well, I didn't know how much of a crowd was still. We were on the road, and we were the road team, and we were getting pounded pretty good. So it was just, there was the clap. Sure, there was the clap because, he's okay. Yay! The cheerleaders ran over, and all that.
Feel like a zombie or something.
And we're like trying not to ridicule the kid.
Yeah, like what did we just see?
What did we just see here? We got some, and I forget. Can't even remember the kid's name. All I can remember is that he came out, and the guy I'm doing the ball games with, his dad was a football coach, and I guess the magic sponge inside the ambulance really kind of helped him there. It's like,
goodness.
Yeah, it was just, and it's, again, one of those things that you remember.
And did we put him back into the game?
I can't remember that. I think so. I think he ended up going back in the game. I think so at some point in time. This is also a game where, we had this assistant coach that would do a better job of warming up the team. And he looked like he still wanted to play. He'd be one of those guys that would be out there throwing, to the receivers and whatnot, and be like, hey, why don't we have the quarterback doing that? The guy that's actually going to play, as opposed to this assistant coach that looks like he still wants to run the.
Maybe he had a shoulder injury, and they were trying to limit his pitch count.
Sure, right. Yeah, that's what it was. Mm-hmm. 8:05 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to WT973.com for that of the mobile app. Speaking of the 4x100, which will be later today, so it'll be interesting to see if Noah Lyles runs. But I got to tell you, watching the 4x100 semifinal last night that put this team into this position, which Courtney Lindsay ran the anchor leg. Yeah.
He was impressive.
He was impressive.
Well, I guess so. So here's where I stop with Noah Lyles. Okay, he was that bothered after running the 200 yesterday. Mm-hmm. He was in that bad a shape that we had to lay on the track and all the above. We had to get put in a wheelchair and all the above. He shouldn't be running today. Courtney Lindsay should get to run today, or somebody else. Yeah, the guy who finished second in the 4x2 or the 200 yesterday. Yeah, what was his name? Bednard or something? Yeah. Bernard something.
Yeah, Kenny Bernard's.
Okay.
Bednard's.
You, if you truly are that bothered by running the 200 yesterday, you don't need to be running today.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I do. I think that's fair. It's like. Man, if you can't...
Well, I'm really not that bothered. Okay, well, why did we have a show yesterday?
They do have Bednards in the final today, along with Fred Curley, who ran at South Plains College.
Sure.
Okay. My question would be Courtney Lindsay looked good. He looked good on the handoff. He looked good on the running.
And I'm not just saying that because it's a Red Raider involved here.
He just looked good.
I'm just saying that if he was that bothered by running the 200 yesterday, he shouldn't be running today.
Yeah. I think there's some fact with that. I'd be interested how Coach Kitley would handle that situation. With a guy that if he had somebody like Courtney Lindsay in his, stable, so to speak.
Yeah, you probably you'd have to be way more careful being in the fear of, with a college athlete.
Would he transfer?
I think you'd have to be way more careful and worrying about. Whereas right now Noah Lyles is an adult, a professional adult, and he can make his own decisions.
Yeah.
I think you have more of an obligation as a college coach to say, we got to worry about this young man's, well-being.
Long term and all that kind of stuff.
And so we're not going to push that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would think that, but I don't, maybe I'm totally wrong.
You asked a question yesterday on the bottom line, and I was trying to come up with the moment for me. But you asked Choice what his favorite moment was at the Olympics, and I think Clint as well. And I was trying to think of something that just really stood out to me. There have been so many moments, but I think the thing that I have found the most enjoyable about this Olympics is that I've just found it refreshing how it's just gone on without like money drama and transfer drama and all about there's some all about me drama because it's an individual sport for the most part for a lot of these things, but the emotion for the national anthem, just the emotion of winning, whether it was Katie Ledecky or some of these guys running or some of the gymnasts or some just their reaction and their fighting for each other and their and you pointed this out during the break about these different athletes from different countries, congratulating each other and helping. It just the whole. I've just found the whole thing refreshing.
Yeah, in some events, it really feels like we're in this challenge together. We're not competing against each other. We're just all glad we all survived it. We just finished watching the modern pentathlon. And these guys at the end were like, yes, it's over. We're all still alive. It looked like they had that look on their face and that they were all congratulating each other for finishing and being done with it.
Eric on Wheels, Bednarik, yes, thank you. He said, I read a neat article about him this morning that he came from foster care and was adopted when he was 4. Oh, that's cool. Somebody asked this do you honestly think Noah Lyles wanted that show? Yes. I think I do. I think he did want that show. He's a showman.
I do. Yeah. I do think he did.
Yeah, I think he's a showman.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet973.com.